At last, Sarah Ferguson is prepared to share the truth. It is all the real story of how she met Meghan, the reality of the private moments that were hidden from the public, the reality of their social circles long before Meghan and Harry were married, and above all, the reality of what caused their relationship to break down. It's not a mutter. This is not a gossip. Fergie is a woman who has persevered through controversies that would have destroyed anyone else, moving forward with the kind of candor that has the power to upend a whole regal narrative. Because Sarah Ferguson was observing Meghan as she created a new life, a new persona, and a well-produced narrative about her entry into the royal world. She witnessed the actual start. She caught the first moves. She noticed the rise. And long before the general public had any suspicions, she could see the fissures beginning. Fergie is finally prepared to talk as she has nothing left to lose. Meghan's wedding is not where her story begins. It began years ago in locations Meghan never thought anybody would discuss. And after Fergie starts totaling that tale makes it abundantly evident why Meghan Markle's voice is the most damaging of all. Sarah Ferguson has always existed on the periphery of the world of royalty, near enough to see its secrets, but far enough to experience its severe penalties. More times than anyone can count, she has survived financial catastrophes, public humiliation, and scandals. Each time she succeeded to grin, rebuild, and carry on. Sources claim that something has changed though. Fergie is standing at a precipice for the first time in her life, with nothing in front of her or behind her. Her title has lost its significance. Prince Andrew, her ex-husband, is more of a problem than a shield. The wealthy, influential, and powerful society she formerly inhabited has shrunk into a smaller one as the royal family distances itself. A lonely, freezing corner, and a person becomes dangerous when they get to that stage. Because of this, sources think Sarah's candid book is more than a rumor. It's a warning shot, a message to the press, the palace, and above all, Meghan Markle. Fergie still remembers Meghan's treatment to her. She still remembers the secrets that Meghan had thought would remain hidden. A woman who has nothing to lose is able to share everything. Meghan was already navigating some of the world's most exclusive social settings before she ever entered Kensington Palace, places with high-ranking royals, statesmen, and billionaires. And those areas weren't at all coincidental. Marcus Anderson, a prominent character at Soho House, stood at the core of that world. He was regarded as a gatekeeper who had the authority to determine who belonged with the powerful and those who didn't. According to reports, he introduced Meghan to high-value networks, special dinners, and exclusive events. Then there was Ron Burkle, a billionaire who had a private jet and had strong ties to King Charles. According to sources, Meghan traveled to that Jamaican wedding on Burkle's private jet, a small detail that conveys a powerful message. Consider that difference. Harry took an economy plus flight, Meghan flew in on a private jet. Things like that are noticed by people like Fergie. That world observes who has advantage and who does not. Additionally, Meghan was already gaining access to rooms that many had never considered. Therefore, it is accurate to state that Fergie is familiar with Meghan's circles. She's acquainted with them. The introductions are known to her. She understands who made it possible for Meghan to enter long before Harry did. Most significantly, she's aware of Meghan before the palace cameras were activated. She is able to write about that version. The first signs of discord between Meghan and the York women emerged subtly long before the world sensed strain inside the royal family. You must comprehend how that circle operates in order to comprehend why. Although Beatrix and Eugenie were raised within the royal system, they were not in the public eye. They were aware of the restrictions, but they also had a sense of humor. They were cautious towards strangers but amiable with celebrities. Growing up, they seen their mother, Fergie, withstand decades of criticism. Thus, they received Meghan with grace when she arrived in their realm. They comprehended the anticipation. They were aware of the mayhem. They knew what it was like to be the outsider in a society that had very outdated standards. Then, though, something shifted. According to sources, Meghan started pulling away quickly rather than gradually. She put distance between herself and the York sisters, particularly after she was positioned next to Harry. Discussions that were previously pleasant abruptly became shorter. Invitations were not accepted. as the feeling of equality subtly gave way to something chilly. The conflict was evident by the time Meghan and Harry had adapted to their new royal positions. Eugenie and Beatrice were supposedly viewed by Meghan as inferior to her, tarnished by their misdeeds, overshadowed by their parents, and inconsequential to her new persona. It wasn't a good attitude, nor with their mother, nor with the sisters, and most definitely not with their friends. Eventually, one of the most crucial elements of the puzzle would be this simmering distance. Because that old bitterness didn't go away when Meghan later completely abandoned Fergie. It cracked. It also laid the groundwork for everything that follows. Everything might have been over. Calmly, Fergie could have led a quiet life, blended into the background, and vanished from the royal limelight. However, it wasn't a controversy, a story, or an altercation in front of the cameras that turned everything around. The phone call never took place. Those with knowledge of the matter claim that when Sarah Ferguson contacted Meghan Markle one final time seeking assistance, direction, or Meghan didn't react, not even to a nice voice. She just disappeared without sending a text or making a call. Furthermore, this was not a soft fate. This ghosting was hard and intentional. Meghan allegedly desired distance, separation from the York household, distance from scandal, from Andrew, and from anything that didn't fit her new refined look. Fergie was superfluous, useless, dirty, complicated, and tied to things Meghan didn't want to be involved in. However, Meghan made a bigger mistake than she knew when she interrupted Fergie. Fergie is not just another royal after all. She's a lady who is aware of who opened the doors, where they are, and what was said in the rooms Meghan would prefer to forget. Abandoning a person like that can be hazardous in addition to being unpleasant. According to insiders, Sarah Ferguson transformed from a former ally into a lady prepared to speak at this silent, contemptuous time. The fuse was lighted by this spark. The phrase "tell all" conjures up images of small talk, awkward tales, and perhaps a few humiliating incidents. However, experts don't think Fergie is writing that kind of book. Her rendition would be more sophisticated, mature, and full of the kind of information that only those who worked in the background could comprehend. One of the things she might reveal was Meghan's former way of life and standing in high society. There have long been rumors regarding Meghan's ability to navigate upscale social settings. Not unlawful, not criminal, but most definitely not the image of a fairy tale that the palace attempted to project. 2. Meghan's purported early fascination with Andrew Prince. This is taken from transcript industry sources. Before turning her focus away from Harry, Meghan apparently expressed interest in Andrew. Fergie, who was still very much involved in Andrew's life, reportedly immediately put an end to that. 3. The stress that resulted from the interaction. These kinds of moments endure. They leave their mark and foster long-lasting, gradual animosities between families. 4. The individuals behind the private jet travels. Fergie saw a drastically different picture of Meghan's early ascension, such as traveling on Ron Burkle's jet thanks to Marcus Anderson. 5. The wedding exclusion and Tom Insk. According to sources, Harry's friend had excessive knowledge of Meghan from years prior. Fergie is said to be well aware of Meghan's reasons for not wanting him at the wedding. You don't get a casual book when you put all these parts together. A weapon is yours. A weapon that has the power to alter Meghan's history, change how she is perceived, and undermine the narrative that she has devoted her life to controlling. And Fergie, disregarded and put aside, may be ready to utilize it. Something odd is taking place inside Buckingham Palace as all of this is going on. Not denial, but quiet. Not comfort. Not encouragement for Meghan. Just a detached, deliberate silence. Insiders claim that King Charles is open to negotiating with Fergie in order to soften her, soothe her, and give her just enough to prevent her from turning her pen against the monarchy. His past is extensive and intricate, and he is aware of a tell-all from someone like Fergie could reveal weaknesses in areas he doesn't want investigated. But Prince William has a different approach. He doesn't give in. Unlike others, he is not afraid of Fergie's recollections, thus he doesn't panic. However, this disparity in tactics leads to conflict. The public never witnesses tension, stress. Most likely not anticipated. Because anything is inevitable if the castle senses a hint. If someone has to be the lamb sacrificed, Charles won't sacrifice his reputation in order to divert attention from more serious problems. William won't do it. Camilla won't do it. Meghan will do it. The organization no longer requires a woman. A woman turned to leave. A woman who resisted conformity. The palace has every reason to allow the storm to strike Fergie rather than themselves if she ends up being the voice that brings about that demise. That stillness, that silence, is not peaceful. It is a tactic. Imagine a peaceful Montecito morning. The air was calm as the sun rose. Meghan carrying on with her day, believing that the clamor has subsided, that the royal years are over, and that the world is finally coming together around her once again. However, Sarah Ferguson starts riding way across the ocean in a historic home full of incomplete chapters and ancient memories. For the first time in decades, she is able to do so, not just out of rage or financial gain. She has speech. She can divulge. At last, she can pull back the curtain on years of observations, intimate experiences, and unspoken realities that are never shared with the public. This is the storm that is building in the distance. Unstoppable, hefty, and silent. And Meghan, who used to be an expert at reinvention, suddenly has to deal with something she can't charm, outrun, or rebrand. A woman who has endured numerous scandals. A woman familiar with both the ancient and modern worlds global. A woman